Hello, this is Nancy Juetten, and I am the host of the Learn More, Earn More show. And every week, I come on live with an amazing guest expert or solo sometimes to bring value to your business with a conversation that will allow you to learn more, to earn more. And today is a really special show and a very timely show as we come live today on December 13th, because what are we talking about? We're talking about how to raise your fees without losing clients. Give me a comment in the chat if you want to raise your fees in 2022 without losing clients and make sure that more of the right people are in the room to benefit from the powerful value that you bring that solves your clients' problems. If that's the problem that you want to solve, what do you know? Today we are very, very lucky to have the amazing and incomparable Jan Wallen in the house. Jan Wallen is the forthcoming author of Raise Your Fees Without Losing Clients. Raise your fees without losing clients. If that isn't a message that needs to be elevated to here and beyond faster than ever, I don't know what else is. Jan comes to you with brilliant experience, and so I want to tell you a little bit about her. Jan combines her years of experience in corporate account executive work and as a sales mentor with the art and science of buyer psychology and ethical persuasion, so business-to-business experts who sell to companies can raise their fees as much as 25% and sometimes sooner versus later. Because of her expertise, her insights are sought after and sourced by publications and major media, including ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox News, Business News Daily, and the Business Insider. When she's not speaking and strategizing, you'll find her meeting with friends in New York City, having interesting and stimulating conversations, meeting new people, spotting trends, and painting colorful watercolors. And oh, by the way, she does not chain herself to her desk 24/7. She has a balanced life and a lucrative business. And I think when we're done hearing what she has to say, you're going to be set up to do the same. Jan, I'm so thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I'm so glad to be here on the Learn More, Earn More show.
I'm thrilled to have you, especially to talk about making money, because I got to tell you, everybody starts a business with this idea that they're going to make money and have fun, and one without the other isn't good enough. And then when they get into the actual making money piece, there's a whole host of people I've run into in my course of my 20 years in business that start at the very low end of the price point and feel like they're circling the drain a whole lot longer than they need to. And there's a whole other bucket of people that start high, aim high, and never look back. And there's something in the middle also. And I think to the extent that you can help influence people about what they do well and to charge well for it, you could be doing everyone an incredible service. So before we get into that, I'm kind of curious, how did you get into this in the first place? How did you know that this was going to be your flag to wave to help people raise their fees and without losing clients?
That's actually a good question. During the past year, I took a sabbatical. I stepped back from my business when everything slowed down. And then I took a step back and thought, what are some of the things that are really important to me? And I hadn't had time to do that, or hadn't taken time to do that. So over the last year, I realized it's always bothered me that so many entrepreneurs, especially women, undercharge and earn less. Well, I can't change that whole situation. Companies aren't going to pay more because we think they should. What I can do is use my background and experience and expertise to show business-to-business experts how to ask for more money. And once they do that, they can keep on doing that. It just opens the door to continuing with a successful business. And all of that really fit well. I tried it out a few times. I talked to some people and said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. And I got a very positive response. So, and people wanted, when are you writing your book? And so I'm writing a book. So it just has turned out really well.
Well, I think it eases and addresses a problem that's deeply felt by millions and millions of people, and more so probably with women than with men. And I think that people are going to be really hungry to learn how to do it. And before we get into the actual how to do it, Isn't there something to do with adjusting your mindset in the beginning that you're worthy of more fees in the first place? And can you talk a little bit about that first?
You're absolutely right. I hear that a lot. Well, I can't raise my fee. I can't raise my fees. I've tried before and it didn't work. Or I'm afraid I might lose clients. Or I don't know what to say to raise my fees. And then when the funny thing about this is when you don't raise your fees and you want to, you've thought about it and you've decided, I really want to raise my fees, and you don't do it, what you're doing is undermining your confidence even more. So the other thing that's important to know is I've been in programs and seen programs that show you how to build your confidence. And I've been in programs that say, raise your fees, you're undercharging, raise your fees, provide more value, you're worth more than this. It's not as simple as hearing someone talk about raising your fees and going out and doing it. It's a big change when you're raising your fees. And it's easy when you're making a big change to slip back into our old habits. So it's mindset in a way, but also what I've developed is a way to show people that they are worth it and that they can have courage and confidence to actually step up and do it. And also, when we're making a big change, we have to give ourselves permission to not be good at it at first. And so here's this dilemma. Well, I want to raise my fees. I have a conversation with a CEO or put a proposal in, and we're going to have that meeting next week. What do I don't know what to say. What do I do? And kind of freeze. And then, okay, well, it's easier to not change my fees and just keep on doing what I've always done. You're not going to change your fees if you keep doing the same things you've always done. So I have some ways that I've developed to experience something that gives you confidence, especially around your fees. One thing, for example, is we practice. I have my clients think of a real situation that's coming up, and we talk specifically about that situation. And then there are several different things they can say. So my clients practice until they're comfortable saying it. When you've seen success, it builds success. I call it the success ladder.
Years ago, I remember hearing someone say, I think it was Kendall Summerhawk. She did a whole big piece on raising your fees. And she said, you should be able to speak about your fees as confidently and calmly as if you were asking someone to please pass the salt or the pepper at the dinner table.
Yes.
And I remember myself suffering from this problem myself for far, far too long. And I remember someone saying to me, well, how much do you charge for that? And I remember putting it on my bathroom mirror. I put it in my car. So every stoplight, when I'd stop, I'd say, I charge this much for that. When my husband would come home, he'd say, how much are you going to charge for that? And I'd start talking about how much I'm going to charge for that so that I could get the confidence of talking about it in a way that felt convicted and strong.
Exactly. And the other thing you're doing there is you're hearing yourself say it. That's how we start to do new things. We hear ourselves say it, not read it in a book, not have someone else tell us. We have to hear ourselves say it. So you did exactly the right thing.
So, there's the B2B audience that we obviously need to be able to talk to the CEO or the C-suite executive. And then there's people that do business online that have packages that they sell for various price points. Some people, as we mentioned earlier, are circling the drain with really low ticket offers. And some people are charging 5 or 6 figures for whatever it is that they do. And there's a whole bunch of people that are sitting in the middle, looking to the left or the right and saying, how can they get away with doing that when they get into that compare and despair lineup where they think, well, I'm as good as they are. Why am I not charging? Like, what do we do about that?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a real dilemma. And you're absolutely right about compare despair. And actually, social media encourages that. And so now here's something interesting I thought I read recently is a study was done where smart people, if they don't do something perfectly or well, or they fail or something like that, they look at what did I do wrong, not what happened, other factors that could be. The first thing they say is, oh, it must be me. Well, every time you say that, you're lowering your confidence again. So what you want to do is look very carefully at who your ideal clients are, what their challenges are, and what value you're bringing to them. For example, what are they going to be able to do after you get results with them that they can't do now? And you do your pricing that way, not by looking at someone else and saying, oh, well, so-and-so's charging for something, I should charge that much or more. You want to relate it directly to the value you're providing to your client. One way that I found is your expertise DNA. That's a process I developed when CEOs called me. They knew they had to have a LinkedIn profile, and it had to be different from everybody else who was up for the same CEO opportunities. So they're extremely talented people. And then I've used it for all of my clients who are very talented people and multi-talented. So your expertise DNA is your unique combination of values, skills, and expertise that sets you apart, differentiates you for your ideal clients. I find a lot of people, especially who are multi-talented and they have done a number of things in their career, and yet we've heard, do one thing. When are you going to settle down and do one thing? Well, some of us aren't meant to. And it's the same thing. If we're not meant to do one thing, and we keep trying to do one thing, we're undermining our confidence because we're not doing what's really us. And also CEOs, as an example, they couldn't be a CEO of a global firm without having experience in sales, marketing, operations, finance, everything they've done. So your expertise DNA is like your umbrella around your expertise. There's a small portion of people in the population who are multi-talented and can do many things. Most people can only do one thing, and they don't really understand those of us who do. So when they look at something like our LinkedIn profile or our website and seen we've done this and this and this for this company in this industry and that industry and the next industry, they can look at it as unfocused and vague. It's not. It's our doing what we're meant to do. So I've create this umbrella where that's the one thing you talk about. Because when someone looks at your profiles, they want to see the one thing you do, because that's what they understand. So once you understand your expertise DNA, it's easy to talk about what value you bring to a company and how you're different from someone else.
So I'm going to try something here, just because I'm someone that likes to anchor things in specifics, and you and I know each other pretty well.
Yes.
One of my skills is helping people to book themselves on more of the right podcasts without hiring an expensive booking agency or letting overwhelm or tech take them out.
Yes.
But it's not the only thing that I do. And so if I were to change the way I talk about that, I mean, you've probably had thoughts around that. I'm wondering.
Yes. Actually, I have. This is a very good example. You have several different things. You have this Learn More, Earn More show. You have your book, Bye Bye Boring Bio. You have Get Known, Get Paid, Broadcast Your Brilliance Boot Camp, and the Podcast Visibility Lab. Okay, all of these things. These are all related to your expertise DNA. Your expertise DNA is communication, and particularly how to express other people's message.
Oh, now I get it. Thank you so much.
Everything you're doing is in a different way, is you're showing different groups of people how to communicate their message in a memorable way, and that gets them the end result they want. For example, being a podcast guest.
Right.
Or speaking, anytime you use a bio, it's all helping someone get their message across to get the results.
So anyone who's watching this show now or in the future who has ever been in a message muddle, not being able to get clear about what their expertise DNA is, would be wise to reach out to you, because you can take an inventory of what is out there and reflect it back to them in a way that might have been hiding in plain sight all along.
Exactly right. You're right. Yes.
So now here we are, it's December, and there are an awful lot of people. You see a lot of false urgency. You'll see new prices are going into effect in the new year. So now's the time to buy at 2021 rates. Or a lot of people are thinking, well, what do I do right now if I want to raise my fees after the holidays next month? What should we do first?
That's an excellent question, especially with the holidays coming up. The first thing to do is pause, take a breath, have a cup of tea, or go for a walk somewhere where you can really take a break and think and sort of let your mind open up. When we're sitting in the office all the time, even if we're not quote unquote working, it's not the break our brain needs to figure out what we really want. My recommendation is to take a walk, have a cup of tea, and think about what you really want. And do you want to raise your fees in January? And if the answer comes to you that says, yes, I want to raise my fee in January, decide to do it. Stop wanting to do it. Decide to do it. And then number 2, commit to doing it. Just once you make the decision, the path, how to do it becomes clear, then commit to it. That's not the same thing as deciding. Committing is different. And we go through a big change when we're raising our fees. So I have a technique that helps keep you on the track of raising your fees rather than slipping back to, oh, well, it's just easier to keep doing things the way I've always done them. And that is, do you know these dots that you can get, colored dots that you can get at the office supply stores, or stickers or things like that? Okay, get some dots. Pick a color, something you really like, and take the dot and put it on your laptop, on your telephone, in your purse, on your wallet, on your radio, on the bathroom. And every time you see the dot says, yes, I'm raising my fees in January. Yes, I'm raising my fees next month. And then let yourself settle down a little, because you've committed to it. Honor that decision and that commitment. You've said you want to raise your fees in January. We all have holidays coming up. If that's what you've decided, relax. Enjoy the holidays. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to, oh, what am I going to do to raise my fees? That takes away from the holidays and your family, and it doesn't really help you raise your fees. If you say, I'm going to raise my fees in January, all right, do what you do best as an expert and a consultant. Map it out. It's a project. Set a date. January 1st may be the date. January 5th may be the date. You write the date out and map out every step between now and then. And I would pick one client to talk to about raising your fees. I do have a special report called 5 Things to Say When the CEO Says Your Fees Are Too High. Get that report, read it, pick one that will work for you. Relax and enjoy the holidays, knowing that you're going to be prepared. You're preparing yourself. And when the time comes, you'll be ready.
Okay, so we're going to decide, we're going to commit, and we're going to choose one client to test it out with.
Yes, exactly.
And sometimes when people are asking for a raise at their job, for example, they'll say, well, the wrong thing to do is to say, well, we've got a baby on the way and we just bought a new house and we really need to make more money because we've got bigger obligations, pay me more. That's an employee doing the wrong possible thing. I'm sure there are mistakes people make when it comes to raising their fees. and it could be, hey, someone could be saying the same thing. I've been charging the same rate forever and ever, and it's time to raise them. And buckaroo, today's your day.
Yeah.
That could be one of them. But what are some of the, could you give us a little, some suggestions around how we can frame our language? So that would be helpful.
Sure. Well, one of the things I would say, you brought up some mistakes. There are a couple of things I see. And again, when you're thinking about raising your fees, a lot of thoughts come up oftentimes that say, oh, am I really good enough? Am I ready? I'm not ready. I don't know if I can do this. Well, all of that noise from that interferes with raising your fees. So when they come up, calm down. You don't have to try to solve everything. Just calm down and think again about raising your fees. So think of one client. There are several different ways to raise your fees. For example, one is provide the same services and raise the fees for those services. Another one is to think big and think differently. This is perfect for now because every company has challenges now that they didn't a year ago. How do you work with a hybrid workforce? How do you keep your employees? How do you keep your talented people? They have big challenges now that you can help them with. So think about a big solution, and rather than providing training or consulting or a keynote, the one thing you might be providing now, provide a solution where the speaking or the keynote or the training is part of that solution. And when we are proposing something bigger, higher fees come with it because you're providing more to them and they're getting more from them. So think a lot about how you can help your clients. In fact, one of the best things you can do is ask them. I've always found as a salesperson, the Christmas and New Year's holidays time is a perfect time to reach people. They're often in their office, and my experience is big projects will start in January, not now. So they're sort of in between. Ask them, what are some of your challenges? Some people hesitate to ask clients that they know already. They're your best resource. Call and say, do you have 5 minutes? Can I talk to you a little bit? And say, I'm designing some new services. What will be helpful? Or what are some of the things you're facing right now? When you ask them, then you'll be able to see the kind of solution you might provide. So,
that's really good advice, not only for working with big companies, but for those people who do business in the online space.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
What are you struggling with the most right now? What's keeping you up at night? Where does it hurt? I'm intending to find new and better ways to bring in the relief sooner versus later in the new year. And I'd really like to know where it hurts. Yes. Because if people say, I haven't raised my rates in 3 years and I don't know how, and I think I have a huge opportunity to up level in a really big way, and whatever it is, but I don't know how to do it, then you can say, well, what if I could show you how to do it, and that you could employ or deploy those ideas in 2 weeks and perhaps have a big 25% bump in your rates in 20 seconds. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
So we've talked about why it's hard to raise our fees. We've talked about how important it is to make a decision around doing that and making a commitment to do it. There are some people that fall into special discounts and special bundles, and they run to the discount train sooner versus later instead of standing in and on their true value. Do you have anything to say about that?
Sure. And actually, the theme of your show, the Learn More, Earn More show, is perfect because we all have to learn more. Everyone has to learn more to earn more. And that's what we're doing. Yes, you're right. There are people on the discount train. Don't be one of those. What happens there's so much we hear on the internet. so much hype and so much over and over and over, discount, 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 special price, or whatever you call it. All that does is take away from the value you provide. And it's lowering the price of a product. What you want to be doing is you're providing value and a solution that your client needs, it's not a product. Don't get caught up in that. And yes, it can be hard to say if someone says to you, oh, well, so-and-so charges less than that. Okay.
How do we respond to that?
That's a really good thing. And actually it's in my PDF that I'll tell you about very soon. Stop, breathe, take a breath, always take a breath and continue the conversation. Huge mistake is to say, oh, okay, your fees are too high, or so-and-so charge. Tell me more about that. You tell me more. Are you considering them? If they may mention a company or so-and-so charges less for that, are you considering them? And what are they going to provide for that? And the CEO or the client will answer something. Well, they offer this and this and this at XYZ price. And you can still breathe and take a minute and say, that's interesting. What they're offering is not exactly the same thing as what I'm offering. If it's important to you if it's important to you, we can talk about what part of what I'm proposing you don't want. We can regroup and talk about a different kind of a project, or the project that we've talked about, the proposal suggests several solutions or said with components. Maybe we'll take one out if that's important for your budget.
And then I'm imagining that the most important thing is that when the problem is addressed with the solution that is proposed, the return on the client's investment should be dramatic to justify the value.
Yes, yes.
So what are some of the ways that folks can talk about the promised return on investment in such a way that the CEO's head will turn?
That's excellent. You want to talk about the value that you bring and the results and the outcomes and the return on investment, because that's what a CEO says yes to. And here I'm talking about a CEO of a company, or it could be the CEO, the decision maker of the department or the division that you're talking to. That's what they talk about because that's what counts to them. So in your discussions with them, before you even talk about services, by far the best way to approach it is to talk to them first and collaborate with them on the solution they want. Don't send a proposal out until they've agreed about what you're going to be doing for them. I see so many people send RFPs out, and a company sends RFPs that says, these are the requirements of this project, give us a bid. Well, what you're doing is bidding. You may, and chances are they'll select the lowest price. If there's any confusion in your client's mind, they're going to say no. And if they can't tell the difference between you and, let's say, 2 or 3 other companies that they're considering, they're going to go for the lowest price. That's not what you want. That's not you, and that's not what you want. So the more you can collaborate with them before you propose something, the better it'll be. And you won't be in that situation.
Well, this brings up something else that sort of gets back to mindset is when we have a need for something, there are people that will always go to the lowest cost producer. When we need something or want something, there are people that will also go to the highest possible option. And then there's people that want to do something in the middle. I'm kind of thinking about transportation. You know, if you are a very successful CEO, there may be a Lamborghini on your holiday Christmas list, and it's not something you can buy with coupons. You may, if you're a college kid that's just trying to get transportation, you might choose a junker car that can get you from here to there without falling apart. And if you're somewhere everywhere else, there might be some midterm solution like a Honda Accord or something like this. And so I think that one of the mindset adjustments we all need to make is to create products, programs, and services that are so packed with value and impact that if we were suffering from the same problem, we would pay 10 times the tuition to have the benefit.
That's right.
And I think that when we come up to that level of confidence around what we're bringing to market, we're making a decision not to be the junker car that meets the basic need. We're trying to provide a white glove concierge experience where you are seen, heard, and celebrated and helped in every way, or it's going to be uncommon and preferred. If you're going to be uncommon and preferred and deliver the impact that was desired with speed, impact, grace, and joy, that's a whole different problem solved than hit it and quit and get on with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you're right. That's very true. Very true. You're right.
You know, I had an experience this last week, which is kind of related to this.
Oh.
Someone, we had trouble with our heater in our house, and our heater was out for like 4 weeks, and it's cold here. And with COVID, you have to wait a long time to get on somebody's call list that they'll actually come out to call. But this company came out, they demonstrated that they did not understand the system we had. They asked for an instruction manual and spent an inordinate amount of time online trying to figure out what the problem was, which did absolutely nothing to boost my confidence. And then when they shared the value they wanted me to invest to solve the problem. It was, you can pay this amount and know that the parts won't be here for 4 weeks, or you can pay this amount times 2 and get it solved on Tuesday. Which would you rather? Now, if the person had shown up confidently diagnosing the problem and pointed exactly to what was wrong, I probably would have said yes to one or the other alternatives. But because I didn't have confidence in the person's presentation and approach from the very get-go, my first inclination was, I think I need a second opinion. And what do you know? We got a second opinion. And this was the cool thing that happened. The guy shows up. He says, I know this system backwards and forwards. I've repaired thousands of them in my 20-year career. And I know exactly what's wrong with this one. As a matter of fact, I sourced a part that they can fly here tomorrow and I can install it the next day.
Wow.
Would you like me to take that care of that for you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he said, and in the meantime, if you're cold, we have a whole inventory of space heaters we're happy to lend to you so that you can stay comfortable until the problem is solved. Who do you think I went with?
Who did you go with, Nancy?
I went with the guy that took a genuine interest in the problem that we were suffering from, recognizing that waiting 4 weeks to get that problem solved in the dark depths of December was not a good answer. So my point that I'm bringing forth is, I mean, these are service professionals that get paid to do whatever this is that they do, but we all as consumers or decision makers have a choice. And I went with the person whose competence and expertise was so well demonstrated that I was more than happy to go with them. So I think at the beginning of all of this is, you mentioned expertise DNA. Each of us has that. Each of us needs to make that eminently clear so we can be the preferred choice. And then when you assign a value to what you're going to provide, hopefully people will be so gobsmacked by your qualifications that paying the premium will be a privilege.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You're exactly right. A couple of things here. We had exactly the same heat experience.
I'm so sorry.
Exactly the same thing. And we got it fixed and everything's warm now. But this is a really, really good example. And I'm going to ask everyone to take a minute, and I'm sure we were all nodding. Of course, yes, if you can get the part, you come in confident, you know what you're doing. Ask yourself, what would your clients say yes to that fast? That's what you want to talk to them about. That's what you want to provide them. And part of it is what you're offering, and part of it is confidently saying it.
Brilliant. Now, speaking of confidently saying it, I happen to have in my hand here the Raise Your Fees Without Losing Clients special report, 5 things to say when the CEO says your fees are too high. Why do we need this and where do we go to get it?
Okay. You've been thinking about raising your fees. Now you've decided to do it. And if you're even on the fence, you're close to really raising your fees. Commit to doing that. And then get the PDF, which is 5 things to say. It's a special report where I tell you exactly what to say when the CEO says your fees are too high. Look at them, look at each one, say them out loud, and pick one that really is close to what you would say, or you think your client might say. Pick one of them and start raising your fees.
Amen.
You can go to raiseyourfees.com to get your own copy of that.
Raiseyourfees.com. Can I just say that has got to be the best URL on the planet. I would imagine that anyone who's watching this is going to run to raiseyourfees.com. And what I like about it, it speaks to the problem that is so urgent that people want to solve it sooner versus later. It's easy to remember. It's easy to spell and say, and it's intoxicating to want to know what's on the other side. So everyone who's watching live and everybody who's watching in the future, here's my request. Go to raiseyourfees.com and learn how to say the right things so you can raise your fees. And then here's something I want you to do because it's the season of giving. Share the Raise Your Fees link with everyone you know who has ever complained that their fees aren't high enough and they're not making the income that they desire and deserve. Because if we can empower more people on the planet to raise their fees while conveying the confidence and delivering the value and bringing the ROI, what's that going to do to the marketplace? What's that going to do to the quality of your life? What's that going to do for the fair exchange of value that's going to be transacted between the parties so everyone can feel great about the results they're welcoming? Now, speaking of which, you are not someone who's chained to her desk all the time. There are people that are chained to their desk all the time. And in terms of creating a winning life and a successful business, it seems to me like you've got that nailed. Why is that? How'd you pull that off? And what powerful tip do you have for anyone else who's wanting to have what you are having?
Good question. It didn't happen overnight. It's one of the most important things I would say. I have always wanted that. In fact, when I was in corporate, there were some mergers and acquisitions going on, and I made it through all of them. What I realized was I didn't want to be wondering the rest of my life, am I going to make it through this? Am I going to make it through this? I wanted to be the one that decided who I would work with, what I would do, and my income. So that's when I started my business. So all this time I have wanted to not be tied to a desk all the time. And then this was one of the things I realized also during my sabbatical that was really important to me is not being tied to my desk. So I have this time, especially, I have team members who were able to take over some things. And what that meant was, for example, I'm launching this new business and new focus, and the activities were planned for every day last week. So they started on Monday, and Tuesday, day 2, actually the day of day 1 officially, I was in Connecticut, and my team members took care of everything. Yes, we stayed in touch. They took care of everything. And I realized this is exactly how I've wanted to have my business for a very long time. So one of the things, again, take some time to think. And if you have any quality quiet time over the holidays, take it. What do you really want? What kind of life do you want? How do you want your business to fit with your life? I never wanted to create a 24/7 business or job. So once you know that and you decide and you commit, then you start taking steps toward it. And that's how it happens.
Well, that's so good to hear, because I'm also reminded of something that the Cheshire Cat said to Alice, like, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Yes, you're exactly right.
And so if you're creating a boutique business serving CEOs and other people who I mean, whatever it is that we're doing, like, what kind of life do you want, and how is your business going to support the life that you want? Because for those of us who've ever had life get in the way, I know that's been something that I've experienced. I think you had that too.
Yes, I have too.
And you hear it oftentimes people say, nobody ever says, I wish I'd spent more time at the office. It sounds so trite when you hear it, but when you are the person in that situation dealing with bumps in the road that were unexpected, at the end of the day, did you have the life that you wanted, and did you have the income to support the life that you wanted? And it seems to me as though you are living that dream right now.
Yes, it actually came up very clearly when my mother's health was declining some years ago. I knew for years and years and years that I wanted to be there for her when that happened. So I was able to run my business and do that at the same time. And so the biggest thing is really thinking through what you really want. And if you just say, oh, that's what I want, it's not likely to happen. And it's like you were mentioning with Alice, same thing. It's like going on vacation with no map.
So if you want to raise your fees, we got to decide, we got to commit, and we've got to take action by standing in and on our value and finding a way to demonstrate how the return on investment is more than justified for the results and the process that's coming forth. Any parting thoughts before we wrap this up for today?
Yes, I would say take that 10 minutes to decide what you really want. Raise your fees in January, for example. Commit to it and enjoy the holidays.
And of course, go to
raiseyourfees.com and get my report, 5 things to say when the CEO says your fees are too high.
I love that. Something I really liked about your report is, I think you said in here, send your draft to me. I'll review it and give you my recommendations, even if it's just your sloppy first copy.
Exactly.
So good. I mean, how many times have you downloaded a report and it's ended up clogging your hard drive and you never looked at it? But when it has to do with making more money sooner versus later, not only are you getting the specific language to use, but she's opening the door for you to have an email exchange so you can see if there's value she can add to further bridge that gap. And if there's more support you need, well, I'm sure there's plenty of power under the tent waiting for you should you decide that you're serious enough about making this happen with her expert support. Because I'm guessing that if someone could raise their fees by 25 or 30% with your guidance, whatever fee that you may charge to guide them to accomplish that would be a return on investment in record time, right?
Yes, exactly. And one thing I really care about is the results my clients get.
Now, speaking of which, is there a story you want to tell about someone who got amazing results as a result of putting into practice what it is we've talked about today?
Yes, actually, there is. And it happened early in when I was deciding to do this. 2 clients called me and said they had opportunities to be one was an independent sales rep for a company, another was an independent consultant for a company. And they had a meeting the week after that. And could I help them with the conversation because the compensation was lower than they wanted? So I said, sure. And we started working together, each of them separately. We talked about different strategies that they might use and in their particular situation. And in one case, I gave them 3 different things that they could propose or ask about to see if they could raise their fees. And then we practiced one-on-one. I was the person having the meeting and they were talking about how they wanted more compensation for it and how might we work this out. So we practiced and practiced until they were comfortable. And then they had the meetings and both of them stepped up, did what we practiced, asked for more money, and got bonuses 9 months earlier than they would have ordinarily.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure there are a lot of folks that want to have what those folks are having. So go again to raiseyourfees.com to download the special report, follow up with Jan Wallen. And I have one more other question for you, which is, you are writing the book, Raise Your Fees Without Losing Clients. And I'm imagining that the book will be debuting shortly. For those who download this special report, will they be first to hear about when the final?
Absolutely. Yes. Yep. They will absolutely be.
So get on the wait list to get that book. And you know what? This could be the kind of book that you want to put on your book list or your book club list of recommendations, because any entrepreneur that's in a book club, every entrepreneur, any major person who's contributing value out there may need a primer on how to do this better.
Oh, yes.
And what do you know? Jan Wallen's writing the book on it, Raise Your Fees Without Losing Clients. Jan, you've been a fabulous guest. Thank you so much for being a part of the Learn More to Earn More show. I look forward to sharing this out with everyone I know so that they can have the gift of charging greater fees for greater return on investment. And if you've enjoyed this show, please hit that red subscribe button and say, I can't wait to know what next is coming my way from the Learn More, Earn More show with Nancy Juetten. Hit the red subscribe button. And if you've enjoyed the content, post a comment, share it with friends, and let's get this movement started so that we can create a revolution where people are asking for more, getting more, and having a lot more to smile about now and into the new year. Thank you so much. Jan, you're amazing. And we will see you next time for the next edition of the Learn More, Earn More show. Bye-bye for now.